All right, hello again today, YouTube. So, as you can see here, I got a couple of leaf blowers. Now, this guy I picked up today. Now, this one's brand new still. It's about 6 months old. Works great, nothing wrong with it. I just picked this one up because a guy I know I work with, he was selling it. He wanted to get rid of it, and like 20 bucks for it. Now the reason I got this one was because I can bring it to my other house and leave one there, the old one there that I don't use as often, and then leave this one here, the one that I use more often. But so I figured it'd be kind of a nice little day. It's beautiful out. Do a little bit of a test and see which of these two is better. The one that I spent around $100 on because I got it on sale. Normally this one here goes for about $150. I got it for around 100, maybe 110 with tax, versus a older, cheaper, much cheaper $20 blower. So the cheaper one here is a Weedeater brand, which I'm familiar with and I've had very good luck with. Super blower vac, that's the model number right there. Now this one does have a vacuum on it you can get, which I don't have. He didn't have it. He bought that used as well back about 5 years ago, and he didn't get the vacuum with it, so I don't use that stuff anyways. So yeah, that's just what this one is. Very simple. No primer, just a choke. So you go full choke, pull it over till it starts over. Then you go half choke, let it warm up for about 30 seconds, and then take the choke off, and then there you go. And very simple. Off switch, you just press that to kill it. This is the trigger. Then there's like a little lock there you can use to hold the trigger on, so you don't have to hold it. You know, very simple. Spark plug. Now the only thing I have to say I don't like about Weedeater brand, the only thing is to get to the carburetor, which is down in right above my thumb, you have to take this all this plastic housing off. I hate that. The Weedeater, whatever it's called, the Weedeater, Weedeater, it's a Weedeater brand, but it's a weed whacker, I guess you could say, is the exact same way. Luckily I didn't have to take the carb all apart. There was adjustment screws and that worked good enough. But yeah, so that's the Weedeater. Now for the Craftsman, the new one, which it doesn't look real new, but I use this thing a lot. I've used it all winter for the cars. I use it for blowing off the lawnmowers and stuff. Yeah, so this one's a little bit different. Obviously, you got your primer bulb here, run, start. So you prime it. I prime it about 4 times, then I do start. I start it, let it run for about 30 seconds, and then I go ahead and press the trigger. When you do that, it automatically goes to run, and you're good to go. So same concept with this one. You press that to kill it, and then you squeeze the trigger. And then this one, you can adjust how much of the throttle you use. So you can use like a quarter throttle, half, and full throttle with that lock there, which is kind of nice. Now for purposes of being as even as possible, I took the extension off of this one just to make it as even as possible. So the little test I have is, first, these engines are cold, haven't been started today. So first I'm going to see which one blows these 2 cans better, which they're empty cans, not weighing a lot. And then these 2 boards, see if either one of them can blow these 2 boards, and we shall see. I know it's not a very scientific test, but you'll get a good idea of how strong these are. Now this one is a 200 mile per hour vac or blower. It's if I flip it around the right way here, as you can see, 2 cycle 25 cc 200 mile per hour blower. Now this one, on the other hand, this one I'm not 100% sure, but up until right now I have not looked at this machine at all. So let's take a look at the model number. So it's a 99, it looks like. This is a 32 cc. Doesn't tell you the exact speed, but sorry, there's a camera a bit better. Yeah, it's a 99 32 cc. Yeah, I'm not sure about the exact speed on this one. What this, oh, 180 mile per hour right there. So to get this straight, the older 99 is a 32 cc 180 mile per hour blower versus a more modern 25 cc 200 mile per hour blower. So really what you're looking at here is newer model 25 cc versus older model 35 cc. If I said that right, 35 cc, correct? 32 cc. So older model 32 cc, bit more powerful, but claims to only be 180 miles per hour, versus this guy, which is less powerful, but claims to be 200 miles per hour. So they're around the same ballpark. We're going to see which one's better. So first off, we're going to do a quick cold start. And let me put the camera in a position where you guys can see. Alright, that was there. So we're going to start the new one first because we know it. This guy's going to start right up. Of course, now that I say that, it won't, but it will. Alright, so the Craftsman's all warmed up. I let it go for about 30 seconds to a minute. I made sure it was running up at optimal power. So now we will go ahead and try out the Weedeater brand. So you guys should be able to see this one pretty easily. Now this is the first time I've attempted to start this. So let's see here. Choke. Full choke. Alright, so there's that. That was the first pull. Now half choke. Took 2 pulls. Now why that is because this one does not have a primer bulb. That being said, you have to start first pull on full choke, and then that pumps the fuel into the carb. Then you put on half choke to let it warm up for 30 seconds. So really they're about even because they both started the way they should have. So they're about even. So let this guy warm up a little bit and then we'll start the test. Alright. So the Weedeater brand one does take significantly longer to warm up. This one was going at full throttle without a miss in about 30 seconds. This one here, it took a good minute and a half for it to fully warm up. And even now, it's still kind of on the lean side, it seems like. I'm definitely going to have to try to adjust the carburetor, but it's running good. So let's see if we can't do some tests with this, some very scientific tests. Alright, now again, this isn't a very scientific test here, obviously, but this is where my feet were. This is where my foot was for the white can, and then my foot for the, I just moved over 1 foot for the green can. And you can see about how far over they went. It wasn't able to move either of those boards, which honestly, I wasn't overly surprised about, but this is what we're going to do because I don't have a tape measure. And again, this is very, very scientific here. We're going to see how many board lengths it went from where I stood for each can, just to kind of get an idea. Now these boards are about, my boot is a 13-inch or a 12-inch boot, so it's about a boot and a half. So, you know, that's about how far, it's about a foot and a half. So we're going about a foot and a half. So a foot and a half, foot and a half, foot and a half, foot and a half, foot and a half. Alright, so it blew the white can about 6 feet from where I stood, and it blew the green can about 5.5 feet, 5 feet. So that's how far I was able to blow those cans from where I stood. Now, that being said, we're going to do the exact same test from the beginning of this board. We're going to do the exact same test with the Craftsman, and just to see if it will do any better. Now, that being said, if I had an extension on this, like this one comes with, so if I put that extension on here, I can guarantee you it's going to go farther than 6 feet. So if I put that extension, if that extension fit this blower, I guarantee you it will have probably went like 10 feet. But this doesn't have an extension, so for the sake of argument, we're going to keep this one like this and see how far this one can do it. versus the old school Weedeater brand. So give me a second to fire this one up, and we shall see. I was able to move that board a little tiny bit more than the Weedeater. So let's go ahead and see about this first can. Alright, so now again, very scientific. So from the beginning of this board, which was right there. So from there, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so that one was about 3.5. So the green can was actually right about on even terms with the Weedeater. Actually, the Weedeater blew the green can about 1/4 of a foot farther. So that being said, the Weedeater wins the bigger can challenge by about 1/4 of a foot, which isn't a whole lot, but it still blew it just a tiny bit farther. And now we're going to go ahead and add this board to the white can, which was the white can about 6.5, 7 feet. So it blew a little bit farther. Now, reasoning for that can be said, when I did start this test with the green one, they were facing kind of like this instead of like that. So it was able to roll a little bit easier, I guess. But even so, I went up when it was sideways trying to blow it with the green one, and it still wouldn't move it. So the lighter can, the Craftsman won out, and then the heavier can, the Weedeater brand won out, which is interesting to say the least. I mean, again, this is not very scientific at all, but it just goes to show you what these Weedeaters are capable of, just kind of, you know, in terms of blowing leaves aren't going to be as heavy as either one of these cans. And for just doing stuff like blowing this garden tractor off and stuff like that, they'll both do the job perfectly fine. Now, which would I choose if I had to buy one right now? If I was going to take one, I would probably take the Craftsman, only because I know that's brand new still. It has been used a lot, but it still has a warranty. So that being said, it's still got a warranty for another 1.5 years. So if someone goes on that in the next 1.5 years, I can still return it to Craftsman and get a new one. This one, however, $20, no warranty. You know, you get what you pay for. It's $20. It's old school. It's a bit heavier actually than the Craftsman, but it will it sits a little bit flatter. It does sit flatter, so you can see how the Craftsman sits versus the Weedeater. It sits flatter. It's narrower, not by much, but a little bit. So it's easier to store, I guess. Lengthwise, they are identical. So pretty much, yeah, they're identical. They're pretty much the exact same length. The hose or tube on the Craftsman is a tad smidge bigger, but they're about the same length without the extension on there. And this one has a bagging option, which if I really wanted to, I could get, which I don't want. This one's twin brother, it's about 2 cc's bigger. It's a 27cc one. Did have the bagging option, but I didn't need that, and it was like $30 more, so I didn't get it. But so no bagging option, $20 versus 100. Really, they both got the exact same options, minus that one not having a bag, which, come on, nobody uses anyways. So minus that, they're both exactly pretty much identical. In terms of power output, they're pretty close. This one being about 6 cc's short. This one being about 20 miles per hour short. So how that makes exact sense. This one being more powerful, but not having as much blowing power as it says on the side, versus this one being less powerful and having more more blowing power. That's just because it's newer, I guess. Starting wise, I'd say the one that's simplest would probably be this one. Now, I say that only because when you start this one, you just do full choke, one pull. It fires over and then dies. Half choke, right in the middle is very easy. It clicks. Then, so full choke, one pull, let it start and run for a couple seconds and die. Half choke, start it, let it warm up for a little bit, take the choke off, and you're good to go. So really, it's a 3-step process for this guy, and it's very, very simple. It's, you know, it's pretty much dummy proof, as long as you follow the directions, which when this came with it, I'm sure they were very clear. Both of them take the exact same mixed gas, by the way, 40-to-1, which is why I use in both of these, and why I use in just about every 2-stroke engine thing that I have that requires mixed gas. Yeah, and then once this is running, very simple running, trigger, that's how you give it more gas. Then you can lock the trigger in, very simple, and then off. It's a very, very simple machine. Now, the reason I say that's easier to start is because this one's more of like a 4-ish step process. First, you gotta prime it. Obviously, 1, 2, 3, 4, however many primers you need, or however many times you need to do that is up to you, but I usually do about 4 in the springtime. Then in the summer or in the winter time, I do about 6. So that's step 1, prime it. Then you gotta do step 2, push the start. 3, start it, let it run for a little bit, and then 4, trigger, will automatically set that back to run, that you're good to go. So 4-step versus 3-step, which really they're both extremely simple to do. They're both pretty much, like I said, dummy proof. This one has the instructions label clearly, very, 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 very clearly labeled on here. And then the exact same as this one. You got your trigger, lock, and then off. Yeah. Now, which one's easier to work on? Definitely the Craftsman. Now, that only being said because you got a carburetor right here, which is how a lot of things are. The thing with Weedeater brand is they go for a more simplistic look. Well, not simplistic look, that's not the right word. More of a clean finished look, I guess you could say. A more compact type look, which they nailed it. It's upright. It is a tiny bit taller than the Craftsman, and plus it sits flat, so you can see that how much flatter it sits, the Weedeater brand. But that just makes it more hard to work on, and I'm just now seeing this. I could pop this thing off here and pop that cover off, which I believe lets me get to the very top of the carburetor, so this area of the carburetor right here, along with the fuel line, I'm guessing, and a couple of other things. There's just a lot here to take off, really. I mean, gotta take this, that, these bolts down there, this one here, I believe this bolts, these 2 bolts. So there's like 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bolts you have to take out. 9 that you'd have to take apart just to get to the engine of this thing, which seems rather ridiculous if you ask me, versus the Craftsman, which has a carburetor right here, which is going to be the bulk of your problems with 2-stroke equipment and a lot of gas equipment. But really, if you want to get to into the flywheel here, that would be where this would be, as well as inside. When I get to the flywheel, you gotta take, I don't think you have to take this thing off, but you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bolts, 7, 8, 9, 10 bolts. You got 10 on this one to get to the flywheel. So this one's got 10 versus, I of course forgot what I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I missed one. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, well, they both have 10 bolts, actually. That's kind of funny. So they both got 10 bolts. but oh, 11 bolts. This one's got 11. Ha! So this one's got 11 bolts. So 11 versus 10. But you have to take off at least a handful of bolts. You got to take off all 11 bolts just to get to the flywheel and the entirety of the carburetor and engine. Versus this one where the carburetor is right there. So if you ever do have to get to the flywheel or something on this, there's 10 bolts. Now that being said, are you ever going to have to get to the flywheel on this thing? I highly doubt it, mainly because as far as I know, these are very good blowers. I've always had good luck with Craftsman. Now that being said, you have a 2-year warranty, so if something goes, you're good to go. If something goes after that, if you have for like 4 or 5 years and the flywheel or something goes that's relatively big on one of these blowers, you might as well just buy a new one at that point. So I mean, really, how often are you going to take this entire thing apart to get to it, like the flywheel and engine? You're really not. So that being said, I think I'm going to wrap this video because it's long enough. So we did a little test, kind of like an overview of each, which I would prefer. Definitely the Craftsman. It's a tad bit, they both have full tanks of gas, by the way. This one's a tad bit lighter. I mean, not a lot, maybe like half a pound to a pound lighter, if that, right around there. No king you can't help. It's a little bit lighter. It's got the extension on it. It does everything I need it to. I like the fact I can adjust the throttle speed with the lock on. So if I only need like half a throttle, I can do that. Versus this one, it's just all throttle or no throttle. Yeah, it's just a bit, I kind of like the red a little bit more, gotta say. I think it looks better. This one's more interesting looking, I gotta say. It's got a little bit more power to it, blower wise. And yeah, so I would just take the Craftsman, honestly, because mostly because of the 2-year warranty I still have. But other than that, if I were to see both these at the garage sale and they were both 30 bucks, they're both at a garage sale and they both in the same exact condition, which they pretty much are anyhow, and they both ran like they do right now, and they're both the same year and everything, I would probably, to be perfectly honest, I would probably end up going with the Craftsman anyhow. Not because I don't like Weedeater. I do. I think it's a great, and I think they're great. They work great. When you get them running, they run great. Only reason is because this one would be easier to work on if I needed to. It's just carburetor's right there. There's no messing around with it. It's easier to work on, and I just have a bit more experience working on Craftsman stuff because of that. Because it's easier to work on, I picked up cheaper, lower end Craftsman stuff that was for sale on garage sales and stuff like that, or people were just getting rid of it and I was able to fix them, versus the one Weedeater that I got where I was able to fix it, but it was a lot more labor intensive. So I would definitely go with the Craftsman time and time again. Not that this isn't a good purchase, it is, but I have to tip my hat to the Craftsman. Alright, that's this video. I hope you all enjoy, and I will have another video. I'm gonna mow this yard, and I'll do some more videos with these guys, like blowing the tractor off, which ones do better longevity wise, and I will see you in the next one.